I spent a summer in an old cottage a few years ago. I was 32, looking for a break from my busy city life. I thought the countryside would help me find my creativity again. The cottage was charming, surrounded by tall grass and wildflowers. The woods loomed just beyond my backyard. The view was nice, but something felt off. The locals seemed quiet. They often looked at me, as if they knew something I didn't. One night, I woke up suddenly. I heard a loud thump, then something dragging outside my window. My heart raced. I pulled back the curtain, but saw only shadows in the dark. I wanted to think it was my imagination, but it felt too real. The next few days were strange. I saw flickering lights in the woods at night. I noticed my things out of place in the cottage. I kept telling myself I was just forgetful, but I felt a nagging unease. The wind seemed to call my name. Every time I turned around, there was nothing there. The townsfolk whispered about the old stories whenever I mentioned the cottage. Their faces went pale. It started making me paranoid. I wondered if I was seeing things, but somehow I still felt drawn to the woods. It was like something was waiting for me. One evening, I decided to check out the woods. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The cool grass touched my legs. I walked slowly, hesitation weighing me down. I strained to listen, but heard mostly silence, except for my own breathing. Then I stopped. I thought I heard footsteps behind me. My heart raced more. I told myself it was just the wind, but it felt like someone was near. I turned to run back, but a chill ran down my spine. It was like someone was watching me. Then I saw it. A figure stood between the trees. It didn't move, just stared at me. I wanted to ask if they were okay, but fear held me back. I took a step closer and finally whispered, "Who are you?" "Why are you here?" the figure asked. The voice was low, almost a whisper. My stomach dropped. I turned to flee, adrenaline pushing me forward. I rushed back to the cottage, but when I looked back, the figure was gone. My heart was pounding. I locked the door behind me. I wanted to convince myself it was just a trick of the light, but in my gut I knew that it felt wrong. I spent the night awake, listening to the silence. The townsfolk had been right to warn me, but I had been too stubborn to listen. I should have stayed in the city. It felt like I was trapped in some twisted story. The next morning, I packed my things. I didn't want to wait any longer. But when I tried to leave, my car wouldn't start. I looked around, wishing I never had come back. The woods felt hungrier now, and I was still here. I stared at the dashboard of my car, willing it to start, but it remained unresponsive. Panic clawed at me, tightening my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I took a deep breath and decided to leave the vehicle. The cottage felt suffocating, and I needed space to think. I stepped outside, clutching my flashlight like a lifeline. The daylight fought to break through the clouds, but it felt muted, dim. The grass was still wet from the early morning dew. I hesitated, glancing toward the woods. They loomed like dark giants, whispering secrets I didn't want to know. I walked into the backyard and looked through the fence towards the trees. A part of me wanted to investigate, but the thought of what lay hidden among the branches held me back. I went inside instead, hoping to distract myself. I made coffee, trying to shake off the dread that clung to my skin. While waiting for the kettle to boil, I caught a glimpse of movement outside my window. I turned, my heart racing. There was nothing there. I struggled to calm myself, convincing myself it was just my imagination. Maybe it was the stress of city life pushing its way back into my thoughts. Once I had my coffee, I sat at the table, staring at the walls. The faint creaks of the cottage became louder, echoing my anxiety. I decided I needed answers. The townsfolk had warned me, but I didn't fully understand what they feared. I grabbed my notebook and wrote down everything that bothered me: flickering lights, strange noises, and the figure in the woods. After an hour of writing, I felt bold enough to head into town. I needed to talk to someone,
try to understand what was happening. As I walked, the air felt heavy, as if the world was holding its breath. I made it to the small local diner, hoping to find some familiar faces. Inside, I found a few residents seated quietly, heads bent over their plates. I approached the counter, where an older woman stood. Her gray hair was tied back tight, and her expression was serious when she saw me. "You're still here," she said, her voice low. "I need to ask about the stories," I replied, trying to sound confident despite the tremor in my hands. She glanced around, as if worried others might hear, then leaned closer. "It's not a place for outsiders," she whispered. "The woods hold things you don't want to know about." I nodded, feeling more anxious. "What things?" Her eyes darkened. "People have gone missing. It's better to forget. You should leave while you still can." Just then, the bell above the door jingled, and a man walked in, the air around him changing instantly. He looked tense, his gaze darting around the room. I felt a chill run down my spine. I had seen him before. He was one of the locals who had avoided eye contact with me, always whispering to others as I passed. He approached the counter and whispered something to the woman, and I couldn't make out the words. But when he turned and looked directly at me, a wave of recognition washed over me, sending my heart racing again. Then everything in the diner shifted. The atmosphere felt charged, heavy with tension. The woman's eyes widened in fear, and the man's face turned pale. I felt as if I was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering over the unknown.
I needed to get out, but before I could move, the man spoke. "You shouldn't have come here." That's when I understood. My fear was no longer just anxiety. I had stirred something in the woods, and now it was inside of me, too. I blinked at the man, frozen in place. His warning hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to retort, to demand what he meant, but the look in his eyes silenced me. There was something deeper, a knowledge that went beyond mere fear. The diner felt even smaller now, walls closing in as whispers intensified. The older woman busied herself behind the counter, her hands shaking ever so slightly as she cleaned an already spotless mug. I felt trapped, cornered by their apprehension. The coffee in my cup had gone cold, and I realized it mirrored the chill settling over me. The man stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You have to leave, tonight." His eyes darted toward the door, then back to me. "Before the woods wake up." My heart raced. "What do you mean? What's out there?" I could barely muster the courage to ask, but I needed answers. He shook his head, urgency painting his features. "You're not equipped to deal with it. They won't stop watching you. Just go." Suddenly, the bell above the door jingled again. I instinctively looked toward the entrance, but it was just an older couple coming in, their faces drawn and weary. They exchanged glances with the man behind the counter, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Instinctively, I knew I wasn't welcome here. Panic bubbled within me, reacting to the urgency of his words. I gripped the edge of the counter for stability. "I can't just leave," I insisted, my voice shaking. "I need to know what's happening." With that, the man leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. "You'll wish you didn't." He straightened, and in an instant, he was gone, slipping back out the door like a shadow. I stared after him, catching the worried looks from the couple. Rather than calming me, they sent my heart racing faster. I darted outside, feeling the weight of eyes on my back as I left the diner. The streets were eerily quiet, and I hurried toward the texture of the woods, the unknown beyond calling to me. As I stepped closer, I noticed something odd. There was a single path that split off from the main trail.
My instincts shouted to ignore it, but curiosity tugged me forward. Maybe the answers I sought were buried in the depths of those trees. The leaves whispered above me as I walked, the dim light filtering through. I hadn't ventured far when I heard a noise, a low growl that sent chills down my spine. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Then, a glimpse. In the distance, something shifted between the trees. It was quick and quiet, but it was there. My heart raced, and just like that, I was teetering on the edge of decision. Should I run, or was this my chance to confront whatever haunted these woods?
Before I could decide, the ground shifted beneath me, a loud crack snapping the silence. Instincts kicked in, and I turned to run back the way I came, but my foot caught on a root, sending me sprawling to the ground. That's when I saw it, the shimmer of something luminescent between the branches, haunting and beautiful. It pulsed like a heartbeat, pulling me closer, nudging aside my fear for curiosity. It felt wrong, yet familiar, an invitation I couldn't shake off. I reached out, desperate to uncover the truth, but as my fingers brushed the air around it, I heard the sound again, the growl, much closer now. Suddenly I understood. I wasn't the hunter here. Whatever lay hidden among the shadows had decided to turn the tables. My heart raced, not just with fear, but with the realization that I was no longer alone. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline buzzing through me. The growl was unmistakable now, deep and resonant, sending shockwaves of terror through my core. I glanced back at the shimmering light, still alluring, but now cast in the shadow of something far more threatening. The woods felt different, alive in ways I hadn't noticed before. The trees towered above me like sentinels, their branches seeming to shift and sway, almost as if they were whispering secrets. I forced myself to face the direction of the sound, my instinct screaming at me to flee, yet I was rooted to the spot. Then, a snap of a twig. I flinched, and my heart dropped as I saw it, a shape darting between the trees, low to the ground. It was bigger than I had expected. Dark fur glistened in the dim light, and two gleaming eyes locked onto mine. It stood motionless, studying me, and I could feel the weight of its stare suffocating me. Instinct kicked in again, and I turned to run. I had barely taken 2 steps when I collided with something solid. I stumbled back, gasping. It was an old tree, twisted and gnarled, and etched into the bark were symbols that sent a shiver down my spine. A warning? I didn't take the time to analyze it. I had to get away. I pushed past the tree, slipping deeper into the woods. As I moved, the growls faded, but were replaced by an eerie silence that felt even worse. I was hyper-aware of every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant croak of a frog, and my own ragged breathing. I had to find a way out. Then, a sudden change. The ground beneath me became softer, almost spongy, and I realized I was stepping into a clearing. My breath caught when I came to a stop. Before me lay a circle of stones, arranged in a perfect ring. In the center was the same glowing light I had seen earlier, brighter now, casting an otherworldly glow across the clearing. What was this place? My heart raced again, this time with a mix of curiosity and dread. I edged closer, unable to look away. The stones appeared ancient, worn smooth by time, and the air felt charged with energy. I could have sworn I heard a soft hum, like the world was syncing with a heartbeat.
But I wasn't alone. As I knelt down to investigate, a rush of wind swept through the clearing. It felt like a warning, and I turned in alarm. That's when I saw it again, the creature creeping in from the trees. It had moved closer than before, and its eyes glinted with something primal. Fear surged, and I stumbled back from the edge of the stone circle. The light pulsated, as if it could sense my panic. In the moment of dread, I felt drawn to it, like it was a lifeline. But could it really protect me from the creature that was now stepping forward, revealing its full form? In a flash of instinct, realizing I had to make a choice, I stepped into the circle. The moment I crossed the boundary, the world shifted. The air throbbed, and I felt a surge of power that was both exhilarating and terrifying. But the creature halted at the edge, growling low, challenging. I gulped, frustration and fear colliding. I had stepped into something I didn't understand, and whatever this light was, it seemed to be an answer, but perhaps also a trap. I couldn't help but wonder, had I just found my salvation, or had I sealed my fate? And before I could contemplate further, the light flickered, and everything went dark around me. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me, my heart pounding loudly in my chest. Panic threatened to consume me, but before I could spiral, the light flickered back on, illuminating the clearing. I blinked, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The creature was still there, its form now clearer and more defined. It was massive, with fur as dark as the night sky and eyes that burned like embers. The growl that rumbled from its throat vibrated the ground beneath me. I recoiled instinctively, but the stone circle held me safe, or so I thought. The pulsing light was no longer just a flicker, it was a steady glow, drawing me in. I took a tentative step closer to the edge of the stones, my curiosity battling my fear. What could this place be? What was that creature? Suddenly, a voice whispered from within the light, soft and soothing. "You are safe here. Trust the bond." I looked around, startled. Who was talking? It was as if the light itself had a presence, urging me to trust it. But trust was hard with the creature still prowling outside. I blinked again, and before I knew it, the creature had disappeared. I strained my ears, but the only sound was the wind ruffling the leaves. Had it really just vanished? My hands trembled at my sides as I glanced around the clearing, searching for any sign of it. "What's happening?" I whispered to the glowing light, frustration bubbling up inside me. I wanted answers. I needed to know why I had come here and how it was connected to my childhood fascination with these woods. The light flickered wildly, then a vision flooded my mind. I saw a girl, maybe 13 or 14, standing in a similar circle, her eyes filled with wonder. She began to chant softly, "Here I claim my heart, my spirit, my home."
Each word seemed to build a tower, sending ripples through the air. As the vision faded, I understood this circle was a place of power, a threshold between worlds. But what lay on the other side, and what connection did I have to that girl? Questions swirled in my head. Then there was a rustling behind me, and I turned sharply. A new figure emerged from the forest, stepping into the clearing. It was a tall woman, dressed in a flowing dress that glimmered under the light. She looked familiar somehow, her gaze steady and probing. "I've been waiting for you," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "There's much you need to learn." I felt my heart race again. Was she here to help me, or was she another threat? I took a step back, instinctively seeking the protection of the stone circle. "Who are you?" I managed to say, my voice wavering. The woman smiled, but there was something unsettling about it. "I am a guardian of this realm, and you, dear one, are intertwined with it in ways you cannot yet comprehend." Something in her words struck me like a wave, pulling me under. My mind spun. Why was I here? What destiny awaited me? I had just wanted a summer escape, yet I had stepped into something far deeper and darker. "Come," she said, extending her hand towards me. "It's time to uncover your truth."
but before I could respond, the growl erupted again, echoing through the clearing. I felt the tension snap as the creature returned, now looming behind the guardian. It was clear I was trapped between two forces, and I had to choose a side. The urgency was palpable, and my fate hung in the balance. I stood frozen, my heart racing as I faced the two figures before me, the guardian and the creature. They were opposites, one ethereal and inviting, the other primal and menacing. My instinct screamed at me to retreat into the safety of the stone circle, yet the woman's presence urged me forward. "Please," I whispered, trying to break the tension. "What do you want from me?" The guardian's expression softened. "It is not what I want, but what the realm requires. You, dear one, have a gift, and you must learn to harness it." The creature shifted. A low growl reverberated through the clearing. It was impatient, watching me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. The guardian raised a hand to calm it, her voice steady. "He protects this land. He senses your fear, but does not wish to harm you, not yet." I swallowed hard, the reality of my situation crashing down on me. I was entangled in something bigger than I could comprehend, and I felt utterly unprepared to face it. "What do you mean I have a gift?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Your connection to this place runs deep," the guardian explained. "The girl you saw in the vision, it was you." I blinked in disbelief. That was me? The words sparked confusion and intrigue, but dread slithered through my thoughts. What was expected of me now?
Before she could respond, the creature took a step closer, its eyes narrowing. The growl vibrated through me once more, a warning this time. The guardian's calm facade cracked slightly. "You must choose," she urged, urgency creeping into her tone. "Accept your destiny, or the darkness will consume you." My instinct screamed at me to flee, but something deeper compelled me to stay. I remembered years of exploring these woods, my fascination with its secrets. But now that I was faced with the unknown, fear intertwined with that fascination. "I don't even know what that means. I just wanted to escape for the summer." My frustration spilled out as I took a step back, the stones pressing against my back. The guardian didn't waver. "Your summer will determine much more than you realize. Embrace the light, or the darkness will claim you." The creature snarled, a sharp sound that echoed through the trees. Instinctively, I glanced back to the edge of the clearing. Escape seemed so tempting, but I felt a pull toward the glowing light that beckoned me to the guardian's side. Then, something in the underbrush rustled violently. My heart skipped a beat as I turned, the undercurrent of danger crashing through my mind. That's when I saw it, a flicker of movement in the shadows. My blood ran cold. A pair of glowing eyes watched from the trees, more creatures lurking just out of sight, and I realized this was only the beginning. I was not alone in this realm. "Choose," the guardian said urgently, her voice cutting through my rising panic. I stood at the crossroads, and I didn't know where to turn. I felt my stomach drop at the sight of those eyes. They were unblinking, reflecting the dim light like tiny lanterns. I quickly turned back to the guardian. A part of me longed to trust her, but another was clouded with uncertainty. I could sense the creature growing restless behind me, its energy pulsing like a storm waiting to break. "What happens if I choose?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. The guardian took a step closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "If you embrace your gift, you will unlock the power to heal this land. But choosing the darkness," she paused, a shiver running through her, "will awaken the beasts it harbors." "Beasts?"
I echoed, glancing back at the glowing eyes. Panic clawed at my throat. Did she mean these creatures? Suddenly, one of the figures shifted into the moonlight, revealing itself as a smaller creature, its features twisted and grotesque. Fear surged through my veins. I took another step back, my foot striking one of the stones of the circle. The guardian raised her hands in a calming gesture, her gaze steady. You must decide quickly. They are drawn to your fear. At that moment, a low chuckle echoed around the clearing, sinister and chilling. I turned my head sharply, searching for the source. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, its face obscured.
An unsettling confidence radiated from it as it approached. "Why choose?" it taunted, a cruel smile barely visible on its lips. "Embrace the chaos. Let it consume you." I felt my breath quicken. "Who are you?" I demanded, though my voice wavered. I was desperate to understand this strange encounter. "Only a harbinger of what comes next," the figure responded. "The realm's fate lies in your hands, little one. But why choose light when darkness is such a comfort?" The guardian moved to shield me, her expression resolute. "Do not listen to him. The darkness will bind you. It will let you believe you're safe, but it will never release you." As if to prove her point, the air around us thickened, a fog rolling in from the trees. The glowing eyes multiplied, their watchful stares growing more intense. My heart raced as I realized that staying still could be even more dangerous than I had thought. Then I felt a sudden pulse of energy radiate from the stone circle, warming my back. It was a reminder of the safety I had known when I first stepped into this realm. Maybe it meant something. "Make your decision now," the guardian urged, her tone firm, "or surrender to the darkness that waits to swallow you whole." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both their stares. Could I really harness something powerful? My instincts screamed to run, but the stones beneath my feet pulsed with a truth I couldn't ignore. In that split second, I realized these creatures were more than just a threat. They were part of something bigger. Standing there, I felt the world shift around me, the weight of destiny pressing down. But as I prepared to respond, the darkness around us thickened, splintering the night. Then everything went dark. I gasped as I stumbled through the sudden darkness, my heart racing. The chilling laugh lingered in my mind, echoing in the void. I was no longer sure where I stood, or if I was still in the clearing at all. I could feel the cool earth beneath me, but the air around me felt alive, as if it was moving, twisting, wrapping around me. A flicker of light pierced the darkness. I squinted, hoping it was real, feeling the weight of my fear pressing down. Gradually, the light broadened, revealing a figure. It was the guardian, but her features glowed with an ethereal hue that radiated warmth, pulling me back from the encroaching cold. "Over here," she called, her voice cutting through the haze. "Come to me." I didn't hesitate. I sprinted towards her, the figures in the shadows still creeping in my peripheral vision. They were closer now, and a new chill ran down my spine. Were they waiting for me to falter? As I reached her, the guardian extended her hand towards me. "You must choose," she urged again, her eagerness tinged with urgency. "Embrace the light. Use it." But even in that moment, I felt the pull of what lay behind me, the whispers of the darkness, the creatures watching, the chaotic promise that the cloaked figure had offered.
It was seductive, the idea of letting go and allowing the fear to swallow me whole. "Please," I said, loss and uncertainty spilling out. "What if I can't do it? What if the darkness takes me?" "The choice exists for a reason," the guardian reassured me.
You possess the strength to fight it, but you must believe in yourself. You must release the light from within." Before I could respond, a surge of energy emanated from the stone circle. The ground trembled beneath my feet as streams of light shot upward, illuminating the clearing. In that brilliance, I saw the grotesque faces twisted in anger. The creatures were advancing, drawn closer by the allure of my fear. I felt a pulse of power within me, as if the light recognized my hesitation. I stammered, struggling to find my voice among the chaos. But then, as if sensing my wavering resolve, the darkness erupted. The figures began to move, their eyes glowing with hunger, bright and fierce. One lunged forward, its form sleek and menacing, teeth glistening in the light. I staggered back, terror gripping my throat. "No!" I shouted instinctively, pushing my fear aside. "I won't let you take me!" In that moment, something inside me ignited, a spark. I raised my hands, feeling warmth radiate from my palms. The stones throbbed with energy, and I willed the light to burst forth. It erupted like a sun, dazzling and powerful, casting shadows away and revealing the forest in its full glory. The creatures paused, their eyes wide with disbelief as they recoiled from the light. But a new voice broke through the silence, one I recognized. The cloaked figure stepped forward again, anger morphing into a sly grin. "Fighting back? We'll see how long that lasts." The light flickered, and for a brief moment I felt an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. What would happen if I couldn't maintain this power? Then, unexpectedly, the ground beneath me shifted again. I stumbled, but before I could regain my footing, the darkness surged forward, more ferocious than ever. And just like that, everything went black again. I awoke with a start, the light still flickering like a candle on the verge of being snuffed out. My heart raced in the quiet aftermath of confusion. I strained to hear anything, but the familiar sounds of the forest had dissolved into a heavy silence. Where was the guardian? Where were the creatures? As my surroundings came into focus, I realized I was no longer in the clearing. Instead, I found myself in a small, darkened grove surrounded by cowering trees. The air was thick and smelled of damp earth and decay. Panic bubbled beneath the surface. Did I lose? Then a rustle came from above me, drawing my attention. Nervously, I looked up into the branches. A pair of glowing eyes watched me, reflecting whatever small remnants of light remained. They were fixed on me, unmoving, unsettling. I swallowed hard, unsure if I should call out. "Hello?" I managed to whisper.
My voice felt fragile, a mere whisper against the encroaching darkness of the trees. The eyes blinked slowly, and I felt my breath hitch. Suddenly, they vanished, leaving only the twitching branches behind. I turned, searching for any sign of the guardian, the darkness lurking, or anything that made sense. My pulse quickened as I noticed a glimmer near the foot of a nearby tree. I stumbled closer, forced myself to focus. It was a small pendant, beautifully crafted but scratched and tarnished by time. As I picked it up, the air shifted once again. A low growl emanated from the darkness beyond the trees. My grip tightened around the pendant. "What are you?" I murmured, feeling the weight of the moment press down on me. The growl grew louder, vibrating through my chest. It echoed like a warning. I knew something was coming, and it wasn't friendly. I had to decide, stay in this grove or confront the force emerging from the shadows. "Show yourself," I called out, clutching the pendant as if it held some power.
From the corner of my eye, I saw movement, a shadow darting through the trees. Before I could react, the growling entity charged forward, breaking through the underbrush. It was massive, an amalgamation of size and fury. I saw sharp teeth, garnered claws, and a body that seemed to flicker between solid and shadow, as if the creature lived in two worlds at once. My heart pounded as it lunged. The pendant pulsed in my hand, sending a jolt of warmth into my palm. In that exact moment, I knew I couldn't give up. "Not this time!" I shouted, pushing the pendant forward, channeling whatever energy flowed from it. The creature paused, confusion flashing in its eyes. The air crackled with potential, a strange tension blooming around us. It was like standing at the edge of a storm, and I realized I had a choice again. Then I saw something through the trees. A figure appeared, cloaked and menacing, standing between me and the creature. My breath caught in my throat. The cloaked figure was back. "Fight or flee," it taunted, its voice chilling. I had to make my choice. The forest held its breath, waiting. I stood alone in the grove. The weight of the pendant in my palm felt like a lifeline. The cloaked figure watched, a smirk tugging at the corners of its mouth, while the creature before me stirred, hesitation flashing in its predatory eyes. Adrenaline surged through my veins. I felt the air palpably charged, as if the entire forest braced for my decision. "Fight or flee," the figure had said, and the implications behind those words settled like a heavy fog around me. I wanted to flee, to dart back to the cottage and forget about all of this. But deep down, I knew the darkness wasn't just outside, it lurked within me, feeding off my fears. "Enough!" I shouted, forcing strength into my voice, trying to dispel the fear clawing its way up my throat. The creature halted, its growl quieting, the air thick with unspoken understanding.
"I won't be a victim anymore." That's when the pendant hummed in my palm, sending warmth through me, urging me to trust it. My gut twisted. A spark, a recognition blossomed within me, reminding me of that girl in the vision. I raised the pendant high, channeling everything I felt into it, the anxiety, the anger, the determination, and let it flow outward. The glow radiating from the pendant was blinding. A warm, golden light enveloped me like an embrace. I could feel my heartbeat synchronize with its pulse as the energy surged in waves, strong and vibrant. At that moment, I was both terrified and elated. The creature before me reacted. It took a wary step back, the growl spilling into a whine as the light penetrated its shadowy form. "Don't be afraid," I called out, more to myself than to it. "This light doesn't wish to harm you." I remembered the guardian's words. There was power in healing. If only I could make the creature understand. Yet, as I held my ground, the cloaked figure laughed mockingly behind me. "Ha! What a lovely illusion, child!" it sneered, the sound sending chills down my spine. "You think light can banish the darkness? You have no idea what you're tampering with." "I know more than you think," I shot back, feeling the light surge with my conviction. "I choose to embrace my truth, not to cower in fear." With that, I poured every ounce of will into the pendant. The golden light crackled and shimmered, cascading over the clearing like cascading waves. The creature flinched, gray fur bristling, as I stood my ground, determined to break the cycle. And then something shifted. The light pulsated with a life of its own, a vibration that echoed through the grove, and suddenly it began to take shape, forming a barrier.
I gasped as I realized that the darkness around us was part of the creature's essence, feeding on fear, pain, and rejection. "Look at what you've become," I yelled, directing the light toward the creature. "You're not just a menacing beast. There's something lost inside you, too." Time seemed to stretch as I peered into the creature's glowing eyes, recognizing something I hadn't seen before: vulnerability. Its growls softened, transforming into a hesitant rumble. The air shifted, and the pendulum of tension began to swing in another direction. The cloaked figure stepped forward. "Stop!" it hissed, panic creeping into its tone. "You can't do this. You have no idea what you're tampering with." But I pressed on, feeling more empowerment swell. "I won't choose fear. I choose connection." With every word, the light expanded, washing over the grove, illuminating everything it touched. Bright tendrils reached for the creature, enveloping it, igniting flickers of clarity within its eyes. I forced every ounce of love and empathy into that light, my hope echoing within me. The creature hesitated, and somehow I could sense a struggle within it, a battle between darkness and the flickering essence of its inherent goodness.
As the light breached the shadows surrounding it, contours softened, revealing its true nature. I held my breath as light painted the edges of its form, till it blossomed fully into sight. No longer a menacing creature, it became a majestic being with intricate patterns shimmering on its fur, reflecting the warmth around us. The cloaked figure roared, fury evident in its eyes. "You'll regret this choice." But as the words left its mouth, I turned away, acknowledging it as a mere echo of what I no longer feared. In that moment, the creature took a slow step toward me, almost tentative. I could feel it grasping for understanding, the connection we had forged in that shared light. But the shadows were still there, flickering at the edges of the grove, the lingering presence of the cloaked figure, and the realities that I couldn't yet understand. As the brilliant light pulsed around us, illuminating the paths ahead, I took a deep breath, bracing myself. I felt a calm resolve wash over me. My journey wasn't over, and the darkness would remain a challenge to contend with. But now I knew I could face whatever came next, standing in the light of my truth and the connections forged in this strange, enchanted realm. The choice had been mine, and whatever awaited me, I was ready to confront it. So as the creatures surrounding us retreated into the shadows with reluctant acceptance, I held on to the light and tethered myself to the unknown, knowing clarity and questions would forever coexist in the echoes of my past. I walked forward into the shimmering embrace of possibility. The woods had secrets yet untold, and I was determined to unravel them, one step at a time.